Hello, crafters, and welcome back to the This Calls for Confetti YouTube channel. My name is Deepa from Designs by D, and I'm so happy to share one there's two cards here that I have to show you, but the mechanism used on this is exactly the same. So I'm going to show you how to put that together. If you had stayed tuned to us during the beginning of this month, we did go through a whole Halloween celebration here to mark halfway to Halloween and create some fun Halloween cards. So I did show this card then, but I want to show you how I put it together. So here's the video of how to do that. Keep in mind, this is for Halloween, but you could use this with the clock face for any occasion. Think Mother's Day, think spring, summer, anything like that. You just have to have the right themed products, right? So here are all the products that we're going to be using. I'm using the Moments in Time die set. I've got the Wicked Webs die set. The new products which were just released is the It's Fright Time and Halfway to Haunting Season. And then I've got some older products, which includes Halloween's Past Windowscapes ephemera, which I showed you. There's 4 designs on there that can be used for this card. So I've gone ahead and I've cut out all of the elements that I need from the Moments in Time die set. I've cut out 2 of the clocks in black. I've got copper for the face and the bells and the top detail on the clock. And then I've got the actual like main clock face with the numerals on it, and I am using the ephemera for this. So again, this is the Halloween's Past Windowscapes ephemera, and I'm gonna go ahead and use that clock face, place it where I want it, and cut out the image I want from it. And you can see I got that little bat in there with the side of the building with a little bit of orange on there, which was what I wanted. Now you can see that I could possibly cut another one from this, so I'm not going to toss this. I mean, why would I? This paper and this image is so amazing, so I just kind of put it back in my pack to be used for another time. Um, I've got that dial for the clock face and the numbers, and I've cut that out of some yellow cardstock as well. I'm going to use this as the change, so this is the clock face that it's going to turn into, and I'm going to take the It's Fright Time stamp set. I'm taking the TikTok Boo sentiment, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp that out. Now I really love these sentiments because first of all, the font's really fun and spooky, and on top of that, they've got tons of cool elements in it. This one has like a cute little ghost for the second Owen Boo, which I think is really unique and creative. So I've gone ahead and I have added my anti-static powder to that clock dial. I have stamped on the sentiment, and I'm just going to heat emboss that with some black embossing powder. Now if you wanted to, you could have just stamped that down with some black ink, but I thought that I liked the sheen on the embossing powder, so I went ahead and used that instead. Not to mention it gives you a nice texture as well, which would also add to the strength of my cardstock, which is important when making these changing dial thing. Now the main dial, which is made out of the ephemera, that stays stationary, so that I don't have to worry too much about, but the dial that changes, that kind of sweeps in and out of the clock is the one that has to be a little bit more sturdy. So before I move on, I am cutting my clock design, my clock shaped card. And what I did was I had that overhang over the edge just a little bit. You can see that straight edge on that rounded part of the clock on the left side. That's what allows this to stay together and create the fold for the card. So it's very important to keep that little edge there when your die is placed on top. It's got to overhang off that white cardstock just a little bit. And keep in mind your white cardstock is folded already. So when you put it through your die cutting machine, you've got 2 layers. So you might want to go back and forth a couple times, maybe turn it horizontally, change the positioning of it to make sure everything cuts out properly. I did use the folded cardstock on my die cutting machine and had no issue with it. So now that I've got that done, I can go ahead and put this together. I'm doing the front part of the clock. I've added the ephemera clock face on top of the copper kind of detail around the edge. I'm adding the copper detail on the top of the clock, and I won't add my bell yet until the end, the 2 bells, because I want to keep this flat in order to allow the next step to work out. So first things first, I've got to draw a line on this TikTok Boo face. We want it going from the very center of that circle all the way out to the right edge where that arrow is exactly where you're going to make your line. And then you're going to cut inwards on that line to the very center. And this is kind of where we're going to slip this into our clock face. Now I am doubling this up. As I'd mentioned, this piece needs to be pretty sturdy. So I'm putting it down on another piece of yellow cardstock, same color, and I'm just going to cut this out. So it's double layered. It's got that rigidity to it, which helps you pull it in and out of the clock when this is all put together. So I'll just cut that out carefully, and keep in mind, since I did glue it down, I'll have to cut that slit again to get that that portion where we're going to stick it in the clock. Now the next thing I've got to do is cut my slit into the main clock face. So again, same positioning as we did before on the TikTok boo piece. I'm going to find the center and cut right out to the edge, but I'm going to stop because this is just a slit. We don't want to cut it all the way through. So I'm going to stop once I get halfway through the copper piece there, right there. And that's exactly the opening we want. It is just a little bit bigger than the TikTok boo face, and now you can just kind of slip that in nicely, and you can see how well that kind of just flows in and out, in and out. And you do kind of have to do it a few times to get the flow of it and get it going. Now I'm cutting out a little tab which is going to go on the end there to indicate to your recipient that they should be pulling it out. I would recommend that this type of card might be something you want to give in person so you can show them how to use it, because it's not always obvious. So I've gone ahead and attached that little pull tab there. I'm just going to make sure it sits in nicely with the clock and cut off any pointy ends. Let that dry completely, because this is what's going to indicate to your user that you need to pull down. I'm also going to cut another little rectangle here and put it, I'm only going to attach it to the other side. So the pull tab was attached to one side of the slit. This is going to be attached to the other side of the slit. And all it does is elongates that circular clock face so that it doesn't fall out completely when you pull it out. Because you do need that entire circle to come out in order to show your full image. So this is just going to stop it from falling out completely. It's just like a little safety feature, I guess you could say. And then all you have to do is slip this back in with that tab that you just attached back through the clock face, and it should be pretty much ready to go. The last thing I'm going to do is add just a little arrow, and I'm just using a archival ink marker here, and I'm adding a little arrow on the tab so it indicates that you need to pull it down and out. And then again, I do recommend just pulling out the clock face a few times to get it going so that it flows kind of smoothly in and out for your recipient. And you can see it's pretty simple. Once it gets going, it's pretty easy to pull all the way out and then to put all the way back in. Now I'm going to add my bells now that I've got the actual interactive feature of this all set and going. I'm using some foam adhesive to do this to create a little bit of dimension, which is fun. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I thought that it just looks really nice and makes the bells a little more 3D. The next thing I'm going to do is now attach the backing. So we had the second black clock that we had cut out. We're going to attach this to kind of encase the slider of this clock, and I am just using some strong double-sided adhesive here. This is 1/8 of an inch in size, and I'm putting it around the edge. We don't want it to touch the yellow or orange clock face because that has to move freely in and out. So once I've done this, it's pretty simple. I'll just add some glue to either side, the little legs and the bell at the top, and then I can just safely attach that black backing, which is the second clock. Now again, once you've done this, I recommend using the slider and making sure that everything is still free to move inside that compartment and everything works well before you move on. If so, you might have to make some adjustments. I'm sorry, if it's not moving freely, you might have to make some adjustments, but honestly, as long as your tape doesn't touch that second clock face that's hidden in between the sandwich here, you should be good to go. So now that I've got that done, I'm going to go ahead and just attach this to my card base, which is my shaped clock here. I'm just going to glue this down on top and have the clock face ready to go. And then I have my sentiment in the center. So I'm going to have the halfway to haunting season sentiment, and I'm going to stamp this on the inside of the clock in a fun way. So you will need a stamping tool for this. Any type of stamp positioner will work. And what I'm going to do is line everything up, and then I've got 3 colors of ink. I've got black, yellow, and orange, and I'm going to do some 3-tone stamping here. So what I'm going to do is take my lightest color, I'm going to put that orange in the center, and it's hard to see here, but I am kind of angling it to only stamp the center of the stamp. I'm using the yellow on the top edge of the stamp, and then I'll use the black on the bottom edge. So I always recommend going from your lightest to your darkest color, or from the color that's in the center outwards. That way you don't, gum up your ink pads, and it kind of gets like a nice change from one color to the next going. So the trick to getting that fade from one color to the next is to make sure that you're kind of overlapping the other color just a little. And with that all complete, that completes this clock changing face card here. So you can see here that it opens, you get a nice sentiment, you got the changing face on the front, you can kind of just pull it in and out and then kind of tuck it back in. And I do have a second card that I also created here as well. You probably saw this one posted during the Halloween event. I used the same idea. I used different colors here. For the background, I did use the lattice line stencil, and I did heat emboss it with some black embossing powder to create that fun look there. Added the webs and stuff from that shaker pack. And that's how this card came together. So you could put it on a background here, or you could have the card as the clock by itself. Either way works. I would also think of maybe using this with other products. As I mentioned before, you could use maybe some of that spring ephemera, which was released earlier this month. These are the Windowscape ephemera, which work really well with it. And also the Make Every Moment Magical collection, which was just released this month, this past month, would work for birthday cards as well. So I hope that you like this fun idea and you'll try using it on some of your cards yourself. Do know that everything used in this video is linked in the description down below. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will look forward to seeing you guys again next time. Bye.